So, welcome to today's podcast, and I'm joined by Mr. Dixon Jones, who I'm sure needs no introduction in this industry. Dixon, thank you very much for taking the time.
Craig, that's the poshest I've ever heard you speak. That's I'm very impressed. Very impressed, mate. You know, almost the Queen's English, which I'm sure you're disgusted to hear.
Yeah. No, my mates say it as well. They're like, Craig, why are you talking like that on podcasts? And I'm like, I don't know. I've just adapted now. I've been listening to Ross Tavendale too much.
Yeah, well, he is the Queen's English, really, isn't he? Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much for the invitation, Craig. I really appreciate it.
No worries. But for anyone who's listening who doesn't know Dixon, you must know Dixon from Majestic. Everyone does anyway. But Dixon, how long have you been in the industry for?
So I set up a consultancy in 1999 and SEO consultancy. I didn't know what an agency was then, so I thought it was consultancy. And then now everyone seems to call them agencies. I kind of moved over to Majestic when Majestic was still, people in their bedrooms. Around about 2009, I kind of ran the two in parallel for a few years. Helped to launch Majestic, and then I kind of moved back a little bit from there 18 months ago, something like that. And I still run a webinar every month for them and things, but I'm fundamentally getting involved in InLinks now, which I've invested in. I'm CEO of, and it's parallel but exciting. Well, I think it's exciting, but then I'm a sad git, really.
I thought you were, when I heard you were like, leaving Majestic or whatever it was, I thought you were just sailing off into retirement.
Honestly, that was the original plan. Because I got stressed a little bit, but then my wife kind of woke up one day, saw how bloody bored I was sitting at home, and she pointed to the posh house on the edge of the village and said, Dixon, go and earn enough money for that one. so I had to start all over again. So it turns out that I get more depressed not working than I do when I work. So better to get off my ass.
Yeah, do a bit, keep your hand in. It's a shame if you were to leave altogether. But great to see you're moving on and the InLinks software that we're going to be talking about. I'm very much interested in hearing about from a personal point of view. So InLinks, what was the kind of thing behind that? What made you go for that? Was it just there was a gap in the market for that?
Well, yeah, there's a massive gap in the market in that all of the tools out there, really, most of them started before 2014 or so. They started pre Google moving over to an entity-based approach to search. So, for those that care or can argue with me, it's kind of after several trillion pages, Google's sitting there saying, well, analyzing every page on every single website is maybe not as efficient as analyzing the concepts that are in all of those pages, and then having a database of all the things in the world, and then all these pages can help inform Google's understanding of whatever the hell a Glasgow Celtic football club is about. So that approach kind of started happening 5 or 6 years ago in Google, but it took some time for traction, and it's a different approach. So all of the other tools that are out there are keyword based, are backlinks based around anchor text, and that's all fine. But if you don't do the analysis, a natural language processing analysis over everything, you don't first understand the topics that the content is talking about. And as soon as you do that, it changes the back end approach to everything, and it means that we can now automatically start creating links on the fly, internal links. We're not doing not doing what Majestic does. It's building internal links in websites based around concepts and tying the concepts together. It builds a schema on the fly, and specifically about schema. So also FAQ schema, but it's not doing the Yoast kind of schema stuff. Although I'm sure that John Owen used to trying to do something. Hopefully they'll use my data, but specifically about data. And what that's doing, or what we're trying to get that to do, is to explicitly say on the page, this is about these things. Specifically, they're about these Wikipedia articles. These are direct matches to the content on my page. So therefore, Google, if you didn't realize that it was about this, it bloody is now. So it's translating that through. And then more recently, we've also built a content interest tool that is tracking. It's kind of like Google Trends system that can be at the start of the funnel. So you can go in every day and see what's trending in your marketplace, and then press a button and say, right, I want to create some content based around that. And then the content optimization tool will analyze that, and we can talk about that a bit more as well. So a trend tool to know what to write about, a content optimization tool to make sure that it's, you know, it's optimal, but based around entities, not keywords. And then automating the schema and internal links. And because Google have finally figured out how to read JavaScript properly, these are automatically injected through JavaScript onto the page, and Google's picking it up just like that. So you don't, all you need to do is go to your client, get them to put a footer of JavaScript on the page, and the rest of the thing can be done from the InLinks end.
That's what I like. For a lazy git like me, it sounds like I like guys like you who are smarter than me, who can make
No. The only thing I'm smart enough to do is to go into bed with a programmer that's smarter than me. Honestly, I always say this. You know, if you're a marketing guy, don't try and own the whole business, man. So Fred owns more of the business than I do, and we'll always and that's because I don't want my developer to leave. That's the whole thing. You know, it will fall apart.
Guys like these are worth their weight in gold to make it all of our jobs a hell of a lot more easier. Because who wants to, you know, especially when it comes to schema, I know schema's been around for a number of years, and we'll start off with schema with your tool, but it's been around for years, and I've just never really get round to implementing it. And it's just because it's a pain in the arse to do it, really.
It is. I think there's a few things though as well. I mean, people take schema and think, oh, okay, so schema, and so they then put in, you know, who the author is, and or if there's an event schema or review schema and something. The thing is there's thousands of different types of schema that you can put in, but it doesn't really. A lot of them don't really do very much, to be honest with you. You know, Google is not necessarily saying, oh, now I understand the content better. Very few of them are related to the actual content, body content itself. And if they are, then you've got to manually put it all in, and you've got, as you say, it's very, very hard work. But if you've got a natural language processing algorithm that can go through the page, and our algorithm, that's one of the proprietary parts of the system, is designed to be more aggressive than Google's. So Google has a natural language processing algorithm that you can go onto Google and play with and have a look at, and it will look at a page of content and say it's about these entities. Ours will go in and it will say it's about a lot more entities, because it's designed to be more aggressive, so that you as a SEO can say, this one, well, these two are the ones that are the main focus for this content. So all of the other pages on the website that are mentioning these kind of concepts, you know, you need to link those in the body text back to the main language page. So you stop the cannibalization. So so automating it has just made it much easier. Yeah,
much easier. Yeah, no, I think that's an issue I've got with my website, and you know, it's the same. I'm good at putting out content and stuff like that, but I really do need some kind of automation to kind of do that other stuff for me, just because I'm a lazy
I think as well, we create the content in a different way, or approach the content in a different way. At the end of the day, you've got to have a good content writer to write any good content. I think, you know, I'm sure there's a button you know a button somewhere you can press, but it's not going to be great content. But but by giving a content brief, saying, right, you want to talk about Aberdeenshire. In that case, you probably also want to talk about Fife and oil rigs and Scotland and Scottish Parliament and or whatever it may be. And so it gets all these semantically close topics that that the other pages that are already, you know, ranking for Aberdeen are talking about, and understands those. So then it can give you a really targeted set of topics to talk about, and all of those should feed to what Google's machine learning has already understood. So instead of writing about something that is so left field that Google can't associate it, in which case you'll rank for a left field kind of long tail kind of term. But if you're trying to get to those head terms, then you really need to make sure that Google understands that you're the best subject for that particular phrase. And the best way to do that is to make sure you're better than everybody else, which an NLP program can help you do, really.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. I'm going to definitely try it and give it to my content writer, because I'm not going to claim to write my own content. So
here's another thing you can do with the tool as well, is it's got a button with the content optimization button. You can say, right, this page should be ranking better for hotels in Edinburgh. What's wrong with it? Then and it kind of works out a score. I'm not saying that score is a magical thing in itself, but it kind of says the things that are missing in the topics. But then you can press a button that assigns it to a content writer. So you can then give the content writer their own login. They don't have to pay extra for it and stuff. They can also be working for 20 different clients of InLink that are using InLinks, and they get projects from all the people that are SEO managers. So they know what they're writing. They're just worrying about doing the content writing. They don't have to worry about paying for the tool or any of that stuff. They can then send it back to you, and you can get out of it. You still need to find a good content writer, though.
I've got a few. They're decent. So yeah, as I say, using the natural language processing and everything else that goes on behind the scenes there with that is obviously something that I've not been using, so can only really stand me in good stead. But the internal link side of things, how does that work? Is that just put? I've been trying out Link Whisper, which at the moment, I know you mentioned before you've not heard of it, and that was the only view. I was looking for something that would do internal linking. There was a guy that had one out a few years ago, and he backdoored the plugin and was injecting links onto everyone's website. So I've always been scared, of these tools. But Link Whisper from Spencer Hawes was a guy that I trust, and I was like, yeah, I'll give this a bash. And it was just purely for internal linking. And his is basically just using just a simple WordPress plugin. And if you talk about an SEO course on a page, and then you mentioned it within a blog post, it's just going to tie it all together. Is that similar how yours works?
So that's a similar approach, but it's going to have a different methodology. So there are a few of those tools out there, I know, and so I'm guessing, correct me if I'm wrong, that you kind of say, right, this page here of content, I want to optimize for this word, or whatever plugin you've got has already decided that it's optimizing for this word. Please now go and find this anchor text elsewhere in the content and link it. But that means that you're getting exact match anchor text every time, which maybe isn't as big a problem as it was, when Penguin was at its worst, but nevertheless, it's not necessarily picking up context in there. So we're much more likely to get a more rounded set of anchor text, and we'll even not necessarily link an exact match anchor text if they haven't mentioned it in a sort of a proactive way. So if we've not picked it up as a topic in that sentence, it's kind of like just an ancillary assumption that you already know that or whatever, then it may not pick that up. So it's picking up links in a different way. You can also then edit them all as well if you don't like them. If you want to change the anchor text on them and stuff like that, you can do that. But I think you make a really good point about the injecting links. And I think that we thought long and hard, because it's very easy for our system for us to allow the SEO manager to also create links out of the websites. And we've decided just for now, it's just too risky, basically, because we're going to get some SEO who's going to start doing business with customers, and then sneakily, when it goes sour, start injecting links into the things. So we've not allowed that at the moment. But I think that the thing there is, my last business was building up Majestic. I'm not out to build a 2-minute business. I'm in it for hopefully the medium term. Hopefully I'll get out at some point. If anybody wants to buy the technology now, we can start talking 7 figures and up. But I suspect I've got to go a few more years before I get to that.
Yeah, and the other thing that you mentioned earlier on the tool was the live trends that's on there, which I think is quite a cool feature, because we're always sitting there going, bloody hell, what can we write about today? We don't want to do the same old thing that everyone's churning out there. And this can obviously be used, because I'm just having a look at your overview page. Affiliate people can use this as well. We can see that, air conditioning is probably a big topic, just now in Scotland, for example. It's really warm or whatever.
It surfaces ideas. It's interesting. I mean, because a lot of the data that's out there, that was out there, seems to have gone with Jumpstart, Jump Shot data. So Moz and Ahrefs, I think, were both using that data. Majestic doesn't have any of that data, and they kind of went, no, that's it, GDPR, we got to go. So the whole of that data source has gone. Similar web's still out there. There are things out there, but they're not cheap. And the other things that are looking at topics are things like Market Muse and ClearScope, I think, are another one. And so we're kind of comparing that part of the product with those guys. And we think that we've got a lot more topics that we're tracking than the Market Muse already. And I think they come in considerably more expensive than us anyway, because you get all of that stuff in the $40 a month package anyway. So we're kind of hoping that at some point, whoever uses Market Muse might come and have a look at our stuff and sniff around as well. But we don't really know that market. I mean, I'm an SEO guy, and I know the SEO market, so maybe I need to employ people that actually know the market analytics or trends market to expand that idea. But I think you're right. SEOs or affiliates, especially, who want to kind of say, right, I don't want to just type out any content. I want to start with content that is trending, so our data is not based on click-through rates or that sort of stuff. We're a bit murky about where the data comes from, but it's about interest, the number of people that are interested in a particular topic. And what I would say is, unfortunately, it's not geography dependent, it's language dependent. So it's entirely possible that a flashpoint in New Zealand that could be a local interest to New Zealand suddenly creates a lot of interest there that inflates the whole of the English language and may not apply to Scotland. So it's not perfect, but it's a great place to start, I think.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. So all of this stuff, I'm just on your pricing page just now. So there's not price plans for all the individual tools. It's just a one-off. Like
it is, because it's so bloody cheap. So it's free for the first 20 pages. Okay, you don't get the trends information for the first 20 pages, or you do, but you can only look at the market. You get a look at sort of the surface stuff, not the detail. But then basically we're just charging $40 a month per 100 pages that you add into the system. So the problem with only having the free tool is that we can only create a map of 20 pages, internal links of 20 pages. And if you've got 400 pages, then we're losing all of that internal link equity that you could have. But the problem is, if you've got 400,000 pages, we don't want to make you have 400,000 pages in the site to use Assistant. So we're going up based on pages because it seemed like a logical way. And then we've got this mythical, hopefully we'll sell one day, enterprise version, where if somebody's paying us 2,000 something or odd dollars a month, we might change the way in which we do it and say, right, you can have unlimited for your website or something like that. So there's no real point in trying to divide it out. We might one day divide out the trends tool, because there's a completely different market potentially for that. But we're a really small team, so and I think we're 2.5 people. So to have built what we've built so far, all credit to Fred, is bloody marvelous, frankly. And until that's working profitably, then I think we'll keep focused on the SEO market and affiliates account as well, because so organic affiliates, I suppose, might use PPC as well, could use it for the trend tool.
Yeah. So if someone's going to sign up and they go for your $40, $80 or whatever the package is, what's it like? Is it a plugin, or how does that?
No, it's literally just putting this one line of JavaScript on the footer of the page, usually in the footer. You can put it in the header if you want. You can also put it in through Tag Manager, and that's all the integration. So if you're a WordPress plugin, get the header and footer plugin and put it down there, or a header and footer plugin, or I'm sure there's a million others. If you're using WP Rocket, there's a little workaround that you need to use on which I've got a page on the blog about that, because WP Rocket can block the Java third-party JavaScript unless you allow it, and it's just a button to change on WP Rocket. So you can get the first 20 pages for free. What I kind of suggest people do is, rather than putting the code straight onto the website, is to configure it all first, because as soon as the code is on the website, you're changing things in real time. So if you're sitting there creating links on the homepage of your website and you didn't want to create the links, I don't want to be entirely blamed for doing that. You've got to know what you're doing. So and the most important bit is getting the page associations right. Associating a page with a proper topic, with the correct topic, is the most important bit. So during the lockdown, we've been saying, right, anybody that goes onto a paid account, we'll set up one site for you for free, and we'll kind of do the initial associations and things. So if you want to do that, get in quick, because the lockdown's kind of stopping now, and we, so hopefully that'll get some people off the ground. And then the other thing I'm doing is one-to-one demos at the moment, but honestly, I'm doing 6 or 7 of those a day, and it's exhausting me, but it's fun.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it to get the name out there. But so that one line of JavaScript on the footer, and you can use all of this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. The only thing it doesn't do, because on the site you can edit your content on the site. So we've got a sandbox WYSIWYG thing, so it pulls in your content and reads it. And then if you want to try and optimize it and stuff, we've got a WYSIWYG editor that will change it on our side. But we don't put the content back on the site. You'd have to cut and paste and put that back in. Yeah. But at least you can start working out what kind of words and phrases and concepts you can use to better improve your content. But it'll inject the links automatically, and it'll inject the about page schema automatically, and it'll inject the FAQ schema, if you've got any, automatically as well. And you can then edit and change that from our end, rather than having to go back and talk to the client every time.
So at the moment on my website, I've got like FAQ schema plugins and all this kind of garbage. I take it I'm just going to have to delete all of that if I wanted to use yours.
Right. Okay. So that's a good question. Google is saying they don't mind if you've got two lots of schema of the same type at the moment. I would say long term that's not ideal. I would agree with you that you should ideally choose. I mean, you can have lots of different types of schema. But it's best to have our about schema and decide whether you want our FAQ schema or not, and then still have the other types of schema with other plugins and stuff that are all out there. But there's not much creating the about schema, so we're kind of, unless you've created it, line by line with a plugin, then you probably haven't. So all the automated schema out there is not the stuff that we're doing most of the time. But if you have got an FAQ schema plugin, then you may well want to take that off or disable that, just to have one set of FAQs. I'm
not hugely deep into it. I think I read somewhere Neil Patel mentioned a plugin about 2 months ago. Not sure why I was reading his stuff, to be fair. But it was talking about a plugin. I tried it out and it didn't really work that well, so I never really bothered. I only done it on 3 or 4 pages, so I'm not that deep into it, so I can wipe it out.
Yeah, okay. In that case, you'd probably find our FAQ schema or just write it anyway and it'll just be there, so you won't need it. Our FAQ schema is quite, in a way, it's quite simple. All it does, it looks at the body text. Our links are all in the body text. We'll try and put them in the body text, not in the nav and stuff like that. But we'll look at the body text, and if we see 2 H1 or H1 to H4 headers with blocks of which are questions, and then paragraph underneath. Then we'll say, right, this is an FAQ page. So we'll then create the FAQ schema based on exactly that H1 tag, and then probably the first sentence or the first snippet of the main paragraph. So it's, in a way, it's quite simple. But we kind of woke up one day and said, well, why the hell wouldn't we put it in, really? So and that's the great thing about Fred. Oh, that's a good idea. You did it by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, brilliant.
Implement it. No, it's you're lucky to have a guy like that who's got those skills.
For sure.
I'm definitely going to try it because, as I say, I keep hearing about it, but the fact I didn't realise you had all of those 4 things. I thought it was just an internal linking tool.
Yeah, I think people are just hearing one part of it, judging by what one of the users has found, really good. And that's why I've kind of been doing the demos and things, to make sure I'm sitting there saying, right, it's a trend tool, a content optimization tool, a schema tool, and an internal link optimization tool, and it runs the whole thing. Oh, and it injects it all, so you don't need to go to the website. And those demos have been going brilliantly. I've been sitting there going, I remember early days of Majestic when I was doing demos, and it was exactly the same thing, before there were other link tools out there on the marketplace, and it thought, that's great. It feels good. So if I can just keep going for that for a couple of years before anybody else figures out how to write a knowledge graph as large as ours, then that'd be great.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be a few people coming for it, but whether they dedicate the time and effort into doing it in such a big way is the difference.
Yeah, we think we've got a few barriers to entry. It's not going to be entirely straightforward for anybody to do it. I mean, one of the advantages is that Fred was on the Schema council or whatever, so he kind of understands Schema inside out. And to have a developer that understands Schema inside out is a pretty rare thing. But then again, it's his business idea, really. He approached me initially. I didn't approach him. I pimped myself out when my wife said I want the house on the edge of the village. She said, I said, oh, okay. So I put DixonJones.com up as I could be your business partner if you've got a good software as a service idea. And and Fred approached me through that. So he's in France. So I've only met him twice, 3 times. Sorry, 3 times, 3 or 4 times. And here we are, a year later, and flying high.
Amazing. So the website is InLinks.net.
Yeah.
One last question here on the tool itself. Obviously, in your paid plans, you've got premium setup, which is optional. What is that, and what's
okay? So the premium setup is what we're giving away free during the lockdown. Okay, so it's essentially usually Fred going into the site once you bought a $40 or whatever, go into the chat and say, please set this up for me, and we'll go and pull in the top pages, probably the top 80 pages. If you're on level 1, want to leave a little bit of headroom for you to grow. So we'll probably bring in up to about 80 pages. We usually use SEMrush's API to work out which are the best ones. So we'll bring in the best ones first, make the associations with topics that have got direct comparisons in Wikipedia, so we know that they're spot on. Then bring in the other pages so we can create extra links and stuff as well, making the other obvious associations, and then go back to the owner and say, right, these are the things. These were some holes that we had when we set things up. So turns out you've got a vacation website, but you don't talk about vacations as a proper page on its own. It's always vacations in Florida or whatever. You need a vacations page. So kind of having those holes, if there are any, and then the person could put the JavaScript up and have a lot more confidence that they're not going to do anything bad with their rankings, and hopefully they'll do something pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm going to sign up. It's something I need, and as I say, perfect for lazy guys like me to use someone else smarter and automate the bulk of this process. So it's music to my ears. So definitely get involved and give it a go. One other wee tiny last question. I know I said that before. So I've been using Link Whisper for internal links. I take it. I mean, I can't when I disable the plugin Link Whisper, it doesn't remove all the internal links that they've placed.
No, it hard codes them. Okay.
It just leaves them there. I'm assuming I'm better maybe getting a VA to go through the website and just remove all the internal links and just start fresh.
I don't know really. So we won't remove any. Obviously it's JavaScript. So we can't really. Well, I suppose we possibly could try and hide all those links, but we don't do anything with your hard coded links. They're all there. We obviously won't try and write another link on top of the same code. But apart from that, we'll just be adding more. So the only risk, if you leave it all there, the only real risk is you end up getting 2 links from page A to page B. Probably with different anchor text, probably with a different meaning and underlying meaning, and I don't see that's really a problem. So on the whole, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Most people have links on their web pages, and this is kind of just adding a layer to that. So obviously you can't remove their links using our tool, but I wouldn't worry about removing their links necessarily anyway, unless you think that they've over optimized my anchor text. And let's be honest, I don't know that tool, so they may have some whizzy knowledge base natural language processing system as well.
I'll have a look and decide, but if I need to clean it up, I'll just get someone to clean it up slightly before I give InLinks a try. But for anyone who really likes what you're doing there and maybe wants to ask some questions on InLinks, where is the best place to get you? Is it just on the website?
If you go to inlinks.net, there should be, if you haven't got pop-up blockers, there should be a little blue icon. It's not Intercom, it's a different system, but in fact, Go Squared. I really recommend Go Squared. It's much cheaper than Intercom, and a nice little company down in Bristol. They seem to be doing a good job. So you can ask him there. You can also, if you need a demo, I'm actually doing a webinar on it with a demo tomorrow night, actually. So I should probably put a link somewhere. Can we put a link somewhere? Oh no, you'll probably this might not go live by then anyway. So I'll tell you what. So if you want a 30-minute one-on-one, go to d9.ms/30. The number 30. So that's my URL shortener, is d9.ms/30, and that will go to my calendar, and you can book yourself in for a demo.
Perfect. So that is there anything else to add? Anything we've missed on the tool, or?
I think if I talk about anything more, it's rather semantic. I mean, lastly, Craig, thank you very much for the chance to come onto your show and just plug a tool. That's to do. That's great. Craig was paid nothing for this, although I might have to give him a free account now.
No, as I say, it's a very interesting tool, and I think more and more people should be looking at it and trying and testing them. I always say that to people. I hate being the guy that's selling every tool to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but when it's a good tool that does various different things that are just going to make our lives easier, then I don't really see plugging.
Hopefully I've got some kind of credibility and pedigree from what I've done up till now. I haven't screwed up quite as many times as some people, but I've done my fair share of screw ups, no doubt. Hopefully, I think the approach, if nothing else, even if our tool is not the right tool for you, I think this learning to approach SEO from a topic-based semantic type approach is a good thing for certainly the next generation to sort of kind of do that, because Google is moving. They're moving the goalposts, and that knowledge graph is only going to influence more and more and more of the traffic that they generate. So I think it's an important approach. On the blog, I've got a search marketing, a semantic search guide. If people really want to go back to start. There's go onto the blog and it's there and it's just page by page, read away. And if any of that's crap and you think better, then please let me know and I'll update it. So we're all learning.
I've actually got one final little thing to ask you. I've got a famous comedian and a famous singer who share the same name as me, who have the knowledge graphs. What chance have I got?
Okay, I'll talk to you offline about that.
Cool, no worries. Perfect. So for anyone watching, InLinks.net, the link will be below. You can reach out to Dixon, get a demo, and definitely take a look at it. The cost of it is outrageously cheap as far as I'm concerned. So have a look at it.
Of you to sign up, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate your time, Dixon, for coming on. It is a pleasure as always.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.